we want to build a color previewer, which is basically a simple application like this one. It has 3 sliders, one for the red part, one for the green part, and one for the blue part, and the background color gives us the results. So if we have a red value of 176, green of 67 and blue of 35, we get this background color. If we turn everything to maximum, we get of course white, and if we set everything to 0, we get black. How can we do this? Well, let's just do it. These are 3 inputs, and for the text here I've used simple span elements. So inputs, the type of these inputs is range. The minimum is 0, the maximum is 255, and let's say the initial value is 0. And we want the first one to have a background color of red. And we'll add a span. And we want the next input to be beneath and not to the right, so we'll add a break row. And we need 3 of those, but the second one should be green, and the third one blue. Right, let's have a look. That looks okay. But for the moment, nothing much happens. We need to change that. So we need to find out when the user changes one of these sliders. And in any case, we need to display the current value of these sliders, which means we need to get access to these 3 slider elements and to the 3 spans, which means we might need some JavaScript. As usual, we use strict mode because we want to get warnings and errors as early as possible to develop best quality scripts. So we need to get access to these elements, but these elements will not yet exist at this point in our document. They will only exist after the browser has loaded a complete document, including this part where we declare these input and span elements. So we cannot try to access them immediately, otherwise we will get an error message. If you don't believe me, we can try it. We will try to get all the input elements in our document, and we'll store them in a global variable called inputs. So we do not even get an error message. Why is that? Okay, but it's empty. So if we try to use one of these inputs, then we will get an error message. So for instance, if we want to display the value of the first input, we get an error message telling us that this is undefined. That's no good. So what do? Well, we need a function that gets executed only after the whole document has been loaded. So we will add an event listener for the load event. So when the whole document has been loaded, our init function will be executed. Okay, let's take another look. Inputs, and we see now it works. We have an array containing 3 input elements. Well, actually it's a node list, but for our purposes that's the same. So inputs 1 value will give me the value of the second input, which is 69, and if we change it, we get a different value. Alright, now we also need the spans, which works the same way. We just need to specify that we want to have the span elements. Alright. Now, the first thing we need is we need to be able to react to a change in any of these sliders, which means we will have to attach an event listener to each one of these sliders. And which event are we going to listen for? Well, we will be listening for a change event. If the value is changed, then an event needs to be triggered and we will have to do something. So we have 3 of them, which means we might just as well use the loop. And well, we can do this differently. Let's do it in a more general way. We will run through all the inputs that we have. And we will attach an event listener to each one of them. That's event listener. We said we will be listening for the change event, and if something gets changed, we will call of function update display, which doesn't exist yet, but we will create it in a moment. And that's all we need here, so we do not necessarily need these curly braces. Okay, so now let's build this function update display. It takes no parameters. Now what we need is the values of each of the 3 inputs. And let's store them in 3 local variables to simplify our life. And the blue one and now we want to change the background color of the body, the document. You see that we can access the body element very easily because there is only one body in an HTML document, and it can be accessed via the document just like this. So that's very comfortable. And the background color will be set to RGB. The red part, the green part, and the blue part. Alright. And now we want to display the current value of each slider in its corresponding span. So we need another loop. And we'll change the inner HTML of each one of these spans. And we will set it to the value of the corresponding input. And of course, when the document has been loaded, we will have to call update display immediately, because otherwise we get the current situation, nothing gets shown. It's only after one of our change listener has been triggered that the values get updated. So we will call update display right here. Right, but now we have another problem, because, well, there probably is text here, but we cannot read it because it's black on black. That's not very good. How can we quickly solve this problem? Well, we might, for instance, add a white shadow, in which case it would still be visible when the background is black. How do we do this? Well, it's a matter of simple CSS styling. What do we want to style? Well, we want to style our spans, and we can add a text shadow, let's say white, something like this. Right. So this is readable. Oh, it's not perfect. How about go? Let's remove this. Yeah, that's better. You might even get a good result with 1. And let's try white again. No, that's not too shabby.